Hello everybody, welcome back to ESPN's Football Forecast with me, James Allcott, and we've got two of the main men throughout the season, Kweku, Afari, and Nubaid, Haroon, my boy. How are you both, first and foremost? We're there. This is the last game of the season, and it's a belter, and Nubaid is coming with some hot takes. Get yourself ready. But first and foremost, are you ready to deliver said takes? Are you okay?
I'm racked and ready.
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear what he's got to say.
Not mess about. Straight into it. So, Man City, of course, fresh off the back of winning that FA Cup final against Manchester United, and now go into this Champions League final on the cusp of history. Can anyone stop them?
Oh, they...
Nubaid, let's get straight into it. You are feeling Inter Milan.
Yeah, I think we were sat here this time last week and I said if they beat United, they'll lose to Inter. But at that time, I also said I think they'll beat United and not beat Inter. I really, really fancy Inter, even more so after watching City against United.
After they won a game.
You better hear me out here.
Okay, all right, I'm stepping back. Go on.
There's a lot of biases being thrown in my direction here. I just felt in that game, you could feel there's obviously been this talk about the treble and so on and so forth, and you could feel the pressure in that game. And I don't think they were particularly good. They got bailed out by two Gundogan moments, essentially. De Bruyne didn't play very well. Haaland was relatively quiet. And Inter probably have the tools to kill them that United don't have and didn't have on the day. And United just made a lot of individual errors. I look at the system, I look at the way Inter play and what they've done this season, especially in competition football. Not in the league. In the league, they've been poor. Inzaghi's been close to getting sacked, I think, 2 or 3 times. And that front pair of Dzeko and Lautaro Martinez, City at the moment, the way they defend, they have 4 centre-backs and you can't get into wide areas. So teams don't even try, essentially. United didn't even play through the middle. We had a conversation about Rashford and they kept forcing it wide, losing the duel, giving the ball away, coming back. Inter are not going to do that. They're going to go direct to Dzeko or Lautaro, and then they have Lukaku coming off the bench. There's just so many...
Come on,
it's so
tasty.
And then also on top of that, they've got Barella in midfield. And the one thing City and Pep doesn't normally deal with very well is players that you can't predict, and Barella is exactly that. City can prepare for everything predictable. You can never prepare for world-class footballers. Barella is that. So... I've got a feeling. I've got a big feeling in the belly.
Let's stay there. Let's stay in that space. Yeah. Because I think, look, we do look at this final, or I do, and I'm kind of like, this does feel obvious to me. Mm-hmm. And I'll give my reasoning for that. Let's stay in this world where Inter Milan really put up a fight in this game and win it, in your case. In terms of those match winners, you talk about Barella, you talk about Dzeko, Martinez. Yeah. One key battle, I think, are those wide players in Dumfries and DiMarco. Yeah. How important are those two in terms of DiMarco and the amount of crosses he's been able to put in this year? And Dumfries, who essentially plays as a winger for Inter Milan. Do you think those two will have a real bearing on this game? Yeah,
Dumfries especially because, like you say, he's a faux winger in this side. And Dzeko and Martinez, I know Martinez drops a little bit deeper, but there's a tendency for them to be isolated. So Dumfries has to be that kind of link between the defence midfield and also the attackers as well. But I just think the City, in terms of the midfield, they outnumber it, especially with John Stones dropping in there and doing his job, and he's doing all the jobs of a centre midfielder. Yeah, and then you've got Gundogan, KDB and Rodri in there as well. I think that's where the game will be won. And Pep is very, very aware of where the Champions League final was lost a couple of years ago. And that was in the midfield where he failed to play a CDM. And I don't think that mistake's going to happen again. But if we're sticking on the trailer for the Inter Milan got a chance, they've won 11 out of their last 12 games in all competitions. The only game they lost was against Napoli. And Napoli had to score a couple of late goals and Inter had the man sent off. They're a very good side. They are a very good side. Finished the season very strongly. Finished third in Serie A. It's just when you look at what City have got and what City have gone through, and the fact that Pep has finally settled on a side, which is rare for Pep Guardiola, even in the best iterations of his Barcelona sides. I just think City have just got a bit too much, and they know what their job is. And Pep has spoken before about where games have won, whether it's in their box or in the opposition's box as well. They win their duels in their box with strong defenders who are big and got size and got girth. And then in the opposition's box, they've got the deadliest striker in the world, Erling Haaland, who is struggling for goals at the moment, which is crazy to say in the season where he scored so many goals. He'll be chomping at the bit to score. And so I feel like it's set up perfectly for a memorable final, but a final that I think should go the way that most think is going to go.
I think a good stat that kind of provides a landscape which is somewhat pointless because it's a final and anything can happen, and we've seen that numerous times, and we look forward to that quite, possibly happening again. But 31 goals scored for Man City in the Champions League this year, 5 conceded, whereas Inter Milan have scored 19 and conceded 10. Because that's the thing for me. Good Inter Milan, good side. But this Man City side is way up there. So those stats kind of, again, provide that landscape. But let's kind of go off that script. In terms of things that could go wrong for Man City, I think what you're slightly alluding to is maybe the sort of emotional baggage that comes with trying to win a treble and going into a final where they are huge favourites. Do you see that playing a part in this one in terms of a possible wobble from Man City?
The one thing for City is they're always favourites. And I think that's pretty true in nearly every fixture they play. Even when they played Real Madrid this year, bear in mind Madrid are this Champions League team. They were the favourites then. So I think it's less about are they bothered about being favourites? I think it's more about the fact that they come into this having just won 2 trophies back to back and really won both of them fairly comfortably, you'd say, in the end. And you come into this one where you're actually going to be in a dogfight and you're up against a team that will probably remind him of, not in terms of...
Will they be in a dogfight?
I think so, because Inter Milan do this brilliant thing that they hold teams at sort of arm's length and then try and kill you whenever they can. And for the most part this season in competition football, it's definitely worked. Right. Whereas for City, they come into this game and they go we've got to try and take this game by the scruff of the neck, try and stop Inter doing what they want to do. There's a little more to think about than what they've had over the last 10, 12 weeks, and then comes the emotional baggage. I just think the pressure's all on Man City. Inter lose this game, and people go, well, they're going to lose anyway. They're playing against the greatest team of all time. Inter win this game, and people go, Pep can't win the Champions League with City. And then I just think there's a lot of narrative in favour of Inter. And also, one thing we haven't mentioned is they've got Bastoni and Skriniar, who I think are probably two of the top 10 centre-backs in the world in possession and out of possession. And then you just have a Cherby squabbling with Haaland, which he loves to do, and them two picking up the pieces. I just think they've got ways to stop City. Yes,
you're right. There are ways to affect it. I've got to be honest. So Bastoni, his long passing is fantastic as well. So kind of on the counter-attack to Martinez, quite possibly, that might provide something for them. Dzeko, in terms of his hold-up play, is strong, but I don't see that massively hurting Man City with the defence that they have, the size that they have. Out wide, I don't see DiMarco doing anything in this game. No. Please don't clip that. I just think Bernardo Silva, time and again, a lot of teams in world football, they're sort of, their left side is a really strong part of their team. Mm-hmm. And DiMarco stays out there and puts those crosses in. I don't think he'll get the chance. No. I don't think he'll get the opportunity to do it. Barella, I think, is a really interesting point as well. Like you say, in terms of someone who could run beyond, if Dzeko is able to hold on to the ball, then quite possibly. But I just come back to, this is not a Man United side in 1999 who had both their centre-backs kind of ripped out. And they won that, and it was like destiny. And the drama was outrageous. This team, the bulk of these players have been there since 2016-17. Yeah. The recruitment of this team, along with that alchemy of Pep Guardiola, means that you've got a team here that also, when you look at the average age, is about 28. Perfect. But then you go, oh, there might be a few old boys in here. There's not really. There's only De Bruyne, Gundogan, who again at their peak. Aside from that, Rodri's 26. Yeah. Stones is at his peak. They are all at their peak, and I honestly think they completely steamroller this team.
Well, you're right to point out DiMarco against Bernardo. I think that's pointed. If you listen to Bernardo in the build-up to this Champions League final, in the run in the back end of the season, he's talked quite a lot in the media about him knowing his job, Pep making him aware of what his job clearly is. And I think you can say the same for all of these City players. They know what their job is. And you saw that in the FA Cup final with Gundogan, a player that you absolutely love. Everybody in that team knows what they need to do. It's a team that maybe is a little bit boring, but it's not based on emotion. It's based on strategy and clear processes that have been implemented by Pep Guardiola over a number of years. This is the culmination of the work. Haaland has been added to this already functioning machine, and this is really. You
used the word boring there, though, Kweku.
Yeah,
it's boring because they're so complete.
Yeah.
That's what it is. There's no drama.
They do. But that's what I'm saying. In the Champions League, there's always drama. With Inter Milan, there's always drama. And there's one thing I think Pep has alluded to in the Amazon documentary. The one thing he doesn't like is players and teams that get involved in emotional squabbles, which is what he used to say he didn't like about Klopp's Liverpool. He said he didn't like it about Sir Alex Ferguson's United when he took them on when he was at Barca. He hated it about Mourinho at Madrid. He hates that style. Inter Milan come straight into that and go, that's all of us.
But what I would say, though, is that this Champions League, as good as it's been in moments, has lacked that drama. It's been a clinical tournament all the way through. And maybe it changes in the final. But I think the experiences from the final 2 years ago, where they did get caught up in the drama, where Rudiger was doing his best to disrupt the flow of Man City, and they were affected by it. And we saw ultimately KDB went off with an injury, and that completely disrupted the flow of Man City. I think this iteration of City know exactly what the job is, and also know what's at stake. We talk about narrative a lot on this show. There's an opportunity to put yourself in the pantheon of all-time great teams. When you talk about United of '99, or you talk about the Barcelona team in the early '90s, or you talk about the Man United team in the mid 2000s as well. This is an opportunity to be part of history, and I think City are well aware of that. That's why you saw the outpouring of emotion in the FA Cup final when they beat their local rivals, and I feel like they saw that as the final hurdle. Now you need to go and do your job, and you know that if you do it, the Champions League's there to be won.
Let's get 'em, boys! Come on! Oh, that was great. I agree with you. And I think the thing about this team for me is, when you think of, we've all watched The Last Dance, right? You think about the Chicago Bulls. The thing with this Man City team is they're adults. They are. Do you know what I mean? The Man United team had a lot of young players there. So when you get to that moment, do you have that level of calm to sort of put away the opposition? And then you think of a shock. Last time Man City were in this final, they should have beaten Chelsea. That was a shock. But Pep went and took Fernandinho out and put Gundogan there, and it changed the sort of chemistry of that team. I went to that second leg, that semi-final. The thing for me, it was the geometry of the team. They were all perfectly, the distances between them was just wonderful, with the ball and without the ball. And all of those bits together, again, we'll get to prediction time. I'll go first.
Hold on. Is there a world where you think Inter could win?
Inter have to score the first goal. Yeah. Have to score the first goal. If
How
they
boring is that, Man City?
If they don't, no, I know. Yeah, I get that. But then, the idea of something being boring is probably because they're just so fantastic. And I think this will be dominance for a good few years for Man City. I think they've got another 2 years in the locker, possibly with this team. You maybe take one out, put one in. I think this is the moment where, wow. I think, for me, this is 4-0.
Oof.
You haven't listened to a word I've said for the last 10 minutes. For the last 2 weeks.
They don't ever do. No, I just don't. I think they will look to sort of hold firm. I think they are quite press-proof as a team, Inter Milan. I just can't see it. I think they'll have the energy to go. They'll have the chemistry. They'll have everything you need, and they've got Haaland up top to score the goals. You've got set pieces if you need them. You've got Gundogan if you need a ghost. You've got De Bruyne if you need assists. You've got Bernardo if you need a guy who's without the ball horrible. You've got Grealish who's creating so many chances this year. It's 4-0 for me.
See, like you say, they've got Swiss Army knives all over the pitch, and I think with this City team, this is the end goal. And I know they will probably go on to win multiple league titles, but this is the one that people will be talking about and remembering in terms of Pep's side. But they do concede goals. There's lapses in concentration on occasion. You saw it when they beat Arsenal at the back end of the season. You saw it at the FA Cup final. You've seen it in games of the season that City have dominated, that they have still conceded goals. I think it's going to be 3-1 because I do think that Edin Dzeko is going to get on the score sheet just for the narrative.
Okay.
We're going to extra time again.
Yeah.
I think it'll be 1-1 real time, so it'll be piling the pressure on. Lukaku's going to have a say 110%, one way or another. I'm going to go 2-1 Inter in extra time.
Are you giving Dzeko the goal? It'll be off by then.
I reckon he'll come off for Lukaku. Lukaku bags the winner. It all goes mad.
Stop it.
Come on, Inter.
Okay. Someone's getting clipped up. Okay. When this one ends. Will it be Nubaid? Will it be me? Will it be Kweku with the 3-1 victory for Man City as well? Sort of in the middle there. Guys, let's know who will be champions of Europe. Let's know in the comments down below.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.